I was born in Baltimore, Maryland, but my natural father died when I was very young, and my mother and brother and I moved out, took the train to San Francisco, and she ended up remarrying my new father, Harrison Leppo, who fortunately uh, was involved in the stock market. And so I started growing up and was starting to learn a little bit about the stock market. And one thing I learned early in life about myself is that I have the gambling instinct. And so I enjoyed trying to figure out what was going on, and then uh, got more and more into this as I got older. I guess the next probably important thing was during a summer, I'm going to say 15, 16, I took a course in accounting for stocks, financial accounting, and so I was able to more or less read a balance sheet for an annual report and things like that. Um, so I started investing when I got to college, very limited, and uh, and then when I got to business school, the same sort of thing. And my record as a initial investor was pretty pathetic. And so out of school, I went to work for a mutual fund. This would have been in 1969, and down in Los Angeles, a very good firm, Capital Research. And little by little, I started at least at first, not to make money, but to figure out new ways of losing money. And after about 3 or 4 years of this, I had a sudden insight, and that was that if I wanted to really, uh, make money in my own account. And by the way, when I started at Capital Research out of school, I had liquid assets of $500, but I also had a car, and fortunately, my parents had paid for my education, so I didn't have any debt. And so, in the year of 1972, which was a very good year for the market, I came up with a first way of making money that I decided to do. And we had an ability to get trying to remember what the name of it was, but it was I think it was from the Standard and Poor's. They had various companies would send their report, and so every day there'd be new reports that I could read and very quickly scan to see what this particular stock was doing. And what I said I'm going to look for is stocks that are the price is going up very strongly, and that I thought had good potential to grow. And I came up with a stock in the laser business called Spectrophysics, and the stock went up significantly after about 6 months. Then I switched to another stock, which was also Action Industries, was doing well, and you had a bull market as well, as I said, 1972, and I had saved $10,000 at the start of the year, and I turned it up 10 times. So it went from 10,000 to 100,000. The first of what I call my Leppo surges. So I said, hey, I've got this nailed, and so we get into 1973. Well, 1973 was the opposite of 1972. We went into a significant bear market, and while I was trying to find the same kind of stocks, it went the other way. So I took 100,000, and by the end of the year, I think I was down to only 40 or 50,000. And so I said to myself, I'm not sure I have the right strategy. Then, this is toward the end of 1973, I came up with a new vision. And in part, this was due to a very good friend named Don Smith, who was also an analyst at the same firm. And what he focused on was the importance of buying stocks that were cheap in terms of what's called value investing. And his biggest indicator of what was cheap was comparing the price to the book value of the stock. For example, if you have a company that had assets, book value, or also called stockholders' equity, of $100 million, and the stock was selling at $500 million, not cheap, you would say, okay, the price to book on that stock is 5, which is very high. On the other hand, if you have another company that also has $100 million in stockholders' equity, and the stock is selling at $75 million, discount, that was a big deal to Don Smith, and ever since has become a very big deal to me. And on the other hand, I like the idea of something growing potentially very quickly. So I came up with a new strategy that I talk about in my book, which is to do first, look for an industry where the prices of stocks in that industry have been collapsing, kind of the opposite of what I was doing before, looking for prices going up. Instead, now I'm looking for an industry that has prices going down. And now we're in early 1975, I believe, right at the end of a bear market, and also at a time when Nixon had put price controls on. So I found an industry of great interest, which is to say that it crashed, the recreational vehicle industry, like motorhomes or travel trailers. People have probably heard of, I think it's still around, Winnebago. And then having found that industry, the next question was, okay, is the reason why the industry is down, it's possible it's a fad and it's never coming back, or did I think there was a good chance that it was going to come back, which was the case with the RV industry. Next step is look at the stocks that were publicly traded in that industry and look for the stock that, despite the tough times in that industry, is doing relatively well. And by relatively well, I mean if the whole industry was losing money and the stock that I found was almost breaking even, that would be an example of the kind of stock I was looking for. And I found a stock like that called Coachman. And Coachman at the time was selling it at $5 a share. And because I was working for a mutual fund, I was able to call them up and go visit them in Indiana. And so I did that and really liked what I heard from the management. And at that time, what was neat about this time of tactic on my part was that because I was talking about an industry that was not doing well, and I went to see the company, they were kind of shell-shocked because they might have some analyst or some investor who had bought the stock at 15 and here it was at 5. And so, you know, a lot of unhappy investors. Whereas when I went in there, what I would say to them was, I'm so impressed with the job you're doing, given how bad the industry is, why the average stock in your industry is losing X amount of money, and you're almost breaking even, or whatever it would be. And so those were examples of where I got a benefit because the management that I'd be talking to, whether it was the chief financial officer or the CEO, would say almost kind of like, well, gee, we're doing our best and somebody noticed, right? And of course, that also made them be very comfortable in having a good conversation with me. I would tend to get more information than I otherwise would. The interesting thing about this tactic was you can't do it anymore. This was before the age of insider information. So today, just as an example, I use a very different tactics. I almost never talk to management, but on the other hand, and I'm sure we'll get into this more, there is an enormous amount of easily accessible information on the internet now. And so I can use the same sort of tactics, but without spending as much time going across the country and so on and so forth.